What if I told you that an ordinary-looking penny from 1962 could be worth hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars today? Not because it's made of silver or gold, but because of something far more surprising, its copper color. Yes, that soft, rich, unmistakable hue that collectors now call the vintage copper shade. This isn't just any 1962 Lincoln penny we're talking about. We're diving deep into the Denver Mint version, marked with a small D, that's been turning heads across the coin-collecting world. And here's the catch. Most people still have no idea what to look for. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why these pennies are being snatched up, and how one small detail could turn pocket change into real profit. To understand why the 1962 D Lincoln penny is so valuable today, we need to go back to its roots. Struck during the height of post-war economic optimism, this coin represents more than just currency. It's a piece of American history. In 1962, the U.S. Mint produced over 1.79 billion Lincoln cents at the Denver Mint. That figure might make you think these coins are common and worthless. But as with all collectibles, quantity is only part of the equation. Condition, color, and historical context are where the real value hides. The 1962 Lincoln cent was made primarily of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a composition that gives the coin its classic red hue. However, not all copper pennies age the same. Some develop a deep chocolate brown tone. Others turn a dull mix of red and brown. But a small fraction, especially those stored away properly for decades, maintain a bright, vibrant red luster. This is where collectors start paying serious attention. Now, let's talk about the ones with the legendary copper color shade, a rich, fiery red with orange undertones that seem to glow under natural light. These aren't your average red pennies. This shade forms under very specific conditions, when the coin is struck cleanly on a high-quality plancher and immediately preserved in a low-humidity environment, often by accident. It's this unintentional preservation, combined with the natural patina of time, that creates a look no modern coin can replicate. So why are collectors willing to pay top dollar for these copper-toned 1962 D pennies? The answer lies in scarcity. Finding one in mint state condition, graded MS65 or higher, is already difficult. But finding one with that bright copper color, no carbon spots, no fingerprints, and clean fields, that's exceedingly rare. Most of the 1962 D pennies we see today are worn, dull, or tarnished. But when a pristine one hits the market, competition gets fierce. Let's talk real numbers. A standard circulated 1962 D penny might fetch only a few cents, but a bright copper specimen graded MS65 red by PCGS has sold for over $150. In MS66 red condition, the value jumps closer to $400. And for an MS67 red, you're looking at prices north of $1,000 in some auctions. And remember, these values don't even touch the emotional value for seasoned collectors who see these coins as trophies from a bygone era of American minting. A recent example comes from a heritage auction sale where a 1962 D penny in stunning red MS67 condition sold for over $1,200. Why? Because it wasn't just about the grade. It was about that vibrant, untouched copper tone that made it stand out in a sea of dull brown cents. If you're wondering how you can identify one of these prized coins, here's what to look for. Start by checking the mint mark. It should be a clear, well-defined D just below the date. Next, examine the color under natural light. If the coin radiates a consistent, bright copper red tone, with no black spots or green corrosion, you may have something special. Flip it over and look for clean wheat lines and sharp details on Lincoln's portrait. If it passes these tests, consider having it professionally graded. And once you've found one worth keeping, preservation is everything. Use acid-free holders. Avoid handling it with bare hands and store your coins in a dry, temperature-stable environment. Moisture, air, and skin oils can strip away decades of preserved luster in days. As we wrap up, remember this. The 1962 D copper shade penny isn't just a collector's item, it's an investment. While modern coins flood the market, older cents, with unique characteristics like this, are quietly increasing in value. The market is shifting. Collectors aged 30 to 70 are now searching not just for old coins, but for those that stand out. That penny in your drawer might be a treasure, but only if you know what to look for. So the next time you come across a penny from 1962 with a Denver mint mark and that unmistakable copper glow, pause. You might be holding something far more valuable than you ever imagined. And the real question is, how many of these are still out there, hiding in plain sight? We're diving deep into a coin that many overlook, yet collectors across the United States are fiercely hunting down. The 1964 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, particularly those with a unique copper color shade, has emerged as one of the most sought-after small treasures in modern numismatics. But here's the catch. Not every 1964 penny is valuable, and unless you know exactly what to look for, you might miss your chance at a rare fortune. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn might forever change the way you look at loose change. The story of the 1964 Lincoln penny begins in a turbulent yet transformative time in American history. The country was mourning the loss of President John F. Kennedy, the Civil Rights Act was passed, and the U.S. Mint was dealing with a rising coin shortage that affected everyday commerce. In the midst of this, the Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909, continued production in massive numbers, particularly in 1964. That year, over 6 billion pennies were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. But here's the twist. Many of these coins, especially the ones without a mint mark from Philadelphia, were produced hastily, leading to subtle anomalies and a striking variety in tone and finish. Among the billions, a very small number of these, 1964 pennies emerged with a rich copper-red hue, deep, brilliant, and unmistakably vibrant. These copper-toned coins aren't just beautiful, they're valuable, and the reason why might surprise you. So what causes this unusual copper brilliance? It all comes down to preservation and environmental exposure. The 1964 Lincoln penny was composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, making it highly sensitive to oxidation and surface changes. Most circulated coins quickly turned dull brown or darkened over time, but a few, very few, survived in what's called red condition. These pennies retained their original mint luster, untouched by the hands of time, air, and moisture. In numismatics, the difference between a brown, and red coin can mean the difference between pocket change and a small fortune. Collectors crave the red ones, especially from 1964, due to their age and rarity. A red 1964 Lincoln cent with no mint mark in mint state condition is not only scarce, it's a highlight in any collection, and the market is proving it. In recent auctions, pristine examples graded MS66RD and above by PCGS or NGC have fetched astonishing prices. One such penny sold for over $7,000. Another, in MS67RD condition, reached $9,400. These are real sales, happening right now, because the demand is growing while the supply continues to shrink. If you're serious about coin collecting, or just starting to realize the treasure that might be sitting in your home, it's time to pay attention. First, search for the 1964 penny with no mint mark. Focus on those with a strong, full strike and a copper-red brilliance that looks almost freshly minted. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe under good lighting. A glossy surface with no signs of wear is what you want. Once you find one, handle it with gloves. Even the oils from your fingers can tarnish the surface and ruin its value. Store it in a coin flip or airtight capsule, away from humidity and heat. If you believe it's in mint condition, consider having it graded by a professional service, like PCGS or NGC. Grading authenticates its value and can significantly increase its worth at auction. But here's where things get even more exciting. As more collectors awaken to the value of these pennies, prices are climbing. The market doesn't lie. Coins like these are being recognized as serious investments, not just historical keepsakes. And unlike stocks or digital assets, rare coins carry tangible, time-tested value. The 1964 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, especially in red copper brilliance, is more than a coin. It's a hidden asset. It's a piece of American history that now commands the attention of savvy collectors and investors alike. As supplies of high-grade specimens dwindle and demand intensifies, this unassuming penny stands poised to become one of the most valuable small coins in circulation. So before you dismiss your spare change or overlook that old coin jar, take a second look. That glint of copper just might be your golden opportunity. The question is, will you recognize it when you see it? Because someone else will, and when they do, they'll be the one cashing in. Not just any penny, but one from 1979, stamped with a tiny D under the date and wrapped in a mysterious copper hue that seasoned collectors are chasing like gold. Most people overlook it, tossing it into jars or sliding it into vending machines. But there's something extraordinary about certain 1979 D Lincoln pennies, especially those with a rich, distinct copper shade. And if you have one in your possession, you could be holding far more than just a single cent. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll not only understand why this coin is so valuable, you might just rush to check your collection, or change jar before someone else beats you to it. To truly understand the allure of the 1979 D Lincoln penny, we need to step back into American coin history. The Lincoln cent, first minted in 1909, to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, has long been one of the most collected coins in the U.S. mint's history. By 1979, the penny had undergone several changes, most notably in its metal composition due to rising copper prices. The 1979 D penny, struck in Denver, was part of the last generation of full copper cents before the U.S. Mint officially transitioned to a copper-coated zinc composition in mid-1982. That makes the 1979 D one of the final years where the penny was made with 95% copper and 5% zinc, a composition that gives it that deep, rich copper tone when properly preserved. But here's where it gets interesting. Some 1979 D pennies have surfaced with a noticeably darker, red-brown, or even chocolate-like copper appearance. These aren't artificially toned or tampered with. Their unique shade is often the result of excellent preservation, controlled environmental exposure, and original mint luster reacting subtly over decades. When collectors find these coins in pristine or near-pristine condition, especially in uncirculated or red designations, they're seeing more than just copper. They're seeing opportunity. Rarity, in the world of coin collecting, isn't always about a coin being scarce. It's about condition, demand, and how many collectors are hunting for the same prize. And right now, the market for high-grade 1979 D copper shade Lincoln pennies is red hot. Let's talk numbers. A standard circulated 1979 D penny might only fetch a few cents over face value. But coins graded MS66 or MS67 by PCGS or NGC, particularly those with a stunning copper-red color and original mint brilliance, have sold for $500, $700, even over $1,200 in online auctions. Just one example, a 1979 D Lincoln penny, graded MS67 red by PCGS, commanded over $1,400 due to its flawless surfaces, perfect strike, and deep copper luster. And here's the twist. Most people would never think to get a 1979 penny graded, assuming it's just another common cent. That's exactly why many of these treasures are still hidden in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. If you're a collector, or even just someone curious about coins, there are a few things you need to do right now. First, examine your 1979 D pennies under good lighting. Look for coins that have retained their original reddish tone, free of fingerprints, discoloration, or scratches. Coins stored in rolls or sealed holders for decades are your best candidates. If you spot one with exceptional luster and no visible wear, it might be worth submitting for grading. To preserve these coins, Always handle them by the edges, use cotton gloves, and store them in acid-free holders. Exposure to air, oils, and moisture can degrade their condition quickly, which means the value can drop just as fast. And remember this, as more collectors begin to understand the growing value of high-grade Lincoln pennies from the late 70s, the demand, and the price, will only continue to climb. These coins aren't just historical pieces. They're appreciating assets in the world of numismatics. So before you dismiss that old 1979 penny sitting in your drawer, take a second look, because that humble cent with a D mint mark and a rich copper glow might just be the investment you never saw coming. And if you don't look now, someone else will. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a handful of change, and spotting an ordinary-looking penny, only to discover it's worth hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars. You've likely seen it before, the 1980 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. But what if I told you that a specific version of this coin, especially those with a rich copper color, is now turning heads across the collector world? These aren't just relics of the past. They're treasures hiding in plain sight, and their value is climbing fast. But what makes this coin so special? And why are seasoned collectors paying top dollar for it today? Stay with me, because the story behind the 1980 Lincoln penny is far more dramatic and profitable than you think. To understand why the 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny is generating so much buzz, we need to go back to its roots. This coin was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally did not use a mint mark during that time. It features the familiar profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor D. Brenner, a design that has graced the penny since 1909. But what makes this year stand out isn't just the absence of a mint mark. It's the composition and a striking visual trait that only a keen eye will catch. In 1980, pennies were still being struck in 95% copper and 5% zinc, a composition that would soon change just 2 years later due to rising metal costs. That means every 1980 penny you hold is a true copper-era artifact. But here's where it gets fascinating. Some of these coins, due to the way copper oxidizes over time and subtle minting variances, display a distinct deep copper or reddish-orange hue. These copper color shade coins don't just look beautiful, they signal originality, superior preservation, and often higher collector value. Collectors have noticed that these vividly toned 1980 pennies, particularly those in uncirculated or near-mint condition, are far rarer than previously believed. The brilliance of the copper tone, combined with a pristine surface free of scratches or wear, makes these coins exceptional. They stand out in a sea of dull, darkened cents, and when found with no mint mark, they immediately become the centerpiece of a collector's Lincoln cent portfolio. But let's talk real numbers, because this is where things get exciting. In circulated condition, the average 1980 no mint mark penny might fetch a few cents over face value. But in MS65 red condition, where the coin maintains its original luster and vivid copper tone, values can skyrocket. Some recent online auctions have closed with prices ranging from $150 to $500, depending on the grade and eye appeal. A stunning MS67 specimen, fully red and virtually flawless, has fetched over $1,200 in private sales. And these values aren't stagnant, they're climbing, especially as more collectors chase high-grade pre-1982 copper cents as both historical artifacts and metal investments. So how can you identify one of these copper gems? First, check the date. 1980, with no mint mark beneath the date, confirms it was minted in Philadelphia. Next, examine the coin under a bright light. If you notice a rich coppery red hue with a glossy surface, you may have something valuable. Use a magnifying glass to look for sharp details on Lincoln's hair and coat. Any signs of wear can reduce value, but if the details are crisp and the coin shines like it was just minted, you may have a high-grade piece in your hand. Preservation is everything. If you suspect your coin has value, avoid touching it with bare fingers. Use cotton gloves and store it in a coin flip or capsule. Exposure to air, oils, or humidity can quickly tarnish the copper surface, destroying potential value. If you're unsure about its grade, consider submitting it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. A certified grade can make all the difference when it's time to sell or trade. The 1980 Lincoln penny with no mint mark and a radiant copper shade isn't just another piece of pocket change. It's a time capsule, a collector's dream, and increasingly, an investment opportunity. With copper prices rising and coin collectors turning their attention to high-grade specimens, from the late copper era, these coins are gaining momentum. Their rarity isn't just in age, but in condition, and those with original red brilliance are becoming harder to find with each passing year. So next time you sort through your change jar or visit a local coin shop, take a closer look at those 1980 pennies. One of them might just change your life. Because in the world of numismatics, the smallest details can lead to the biggest discoveries. And here's the question you need to ask yourself. Have you already passed one by without knowing what it was worth? This coin may already be in your home, quietly resting in a jar or an old drawer. The 1984 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, especially those found in a rich copper shade, is emerging as one of the most underestimated treasures in American numismatics. Collectors are racing to find them, values are skyrocketing, and yet most Americans have no idea this penny even exists, let alone how much it's worth. So why are experts placing such high value on this unassuming coin? What secrets does the copper shine reveal? Stay with me, because what you're about to learn might lead you to uncover a small fortune hidden in plain sight. Let's begin with the backdrop. The 1984 Lincoln cent continues the beloved portrait introduced in 1909, designed by Victor David Brenner, honoring the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. By 1984, the U.S. Mint had shifted away from solid copper to a copper-plated zinc composition. This change began in mid-1982 due to rising copper costs. But even 2 years later, a number of coins emerged with a deeper, richer copper hue that collectors now covet. These copper-colored 1984 pennies without a mint mark were struck in Philadelphia. They stand out not just because of their look, but because of how that look came to be. Environmental exposure, unusual plancher mixes, and unique toning processes caused certain coins to develop a remarkable copper sheen, deeper, warmer, and more vibrant than the common dull brown or reddish hues. It's not artificial coloring or tampering. It's natural, and when preserved correctly, it becomes a breathtaking sight. Now here's where it gets more intriguing. Among these copper-toned 1984 no mint mark pennies are rare variants that include double die errors, especially in Lincoln's ear. Known as the 1984 doubled ear, this variant alone has fetched hundreds of dollars in circulated condition. Combine that with the copper toning, and you've got something truly exceptional. The rarity is undeniable. While over 8 billion Lincoln cents were minted in 1984, only a fraction carry this copper luster. Even fewer exist in pristine, uncirculated condition. That's what's creating the surge. Serious collectors are on the hunt, and when demand collides with scarcity, value climbs fast. Just take a look at the current market. A copper-shaded 1984 penny with strong eye appeal recently sold for $250 on eBay. Raw, not graded. Another, with minor doubling visible under magnification and a flawless copper tone, hit $465. Graded MS66 examples with vibrant copper coloration have crossed the $800 mark in auctions. And if you stumble across a 1984 doubled ear penny with rich copper toning in mint state, you could be holding a coin worth over $1,000, but these coins are often passed over, mistaken for ordinary cents. So how do you identify one? Start by examining the color. True copper pennies have a bold reddish-orange tone that remains vibrant under light. Use a magnifying glass or loupe to inspect Lincoln's ear for doubling. Check the fields of the coin for minimal scratches and wear. And always weigh the coin. A genuine copper cent should weigh approximately 3.11 grams, while copper-plated zinc pennies weigh only 2.5 grams. That small difference is key. Preserving these coins is just as important. Avoid cleaning them. Any attempt to polish or scrub will destroy their natural toning and drastically reduce their value. Store them in acid-free holders or coin flips, and keep them away from moisture, air, and direct sunlight to prevent corrosion. So, is the 1984 no mint mark copper penny really worth chasing? Without a doubt. This isn't just a cent. It's a symbol of a shifting era in American coinage, a bridge between the solid copper coins of the past and the plated ones of today. Its value is growing rapidly, not just because of its beauty or scarcity, but because of what it represents: opportunity. For collectors, for investors, and for anyone wise enough to look beyond the surface. Right now, people are finding these coins in old change jars, pocket collections, even tucked away in forgotten drawers. And with the market heating up, those who act now will be the ones reaping the rewards later. The window is open, but not for long. Every day, more of these pennies are being found, graded, and locked away in private collections. Don't let this chance slip by. The 1984 Lincoln penny with no mint mark and that rare copper glow might be sitting right in front of you, waiting to be discovered. Will you be the one to find it? Or will someone else cash in while you overlook a treasure hiding in plain sight? Stay sharp, stay curious, and keep searching, because sometimes one penny can truly change everything. But to collectors and savvy investors, it's a rare gem hiding in plain sight. The 1988 Lincoln penny without a mint mark, especially those with a striking copper shade, has ignited a wave of demand across the numismatic world. Every day, these coins are being plucked from pocket change, old jars, and forgotten drawers, and turned into small fortunes. But time is running out. The market is shifting. Collectors are racing to grab every high-grade example they can find. The question is, do you have one of these valuable pennies without even knowing it? To understand why this particular penny is so sought after, we need to rewind the clock. The 1988 Lincoln cent was struck during a pivotal era in U.S. coinage. By then, the U.S. Mint had already made the transition from 95% copper pennies to a more cost-effective copper-plated zinc composition. This shift began in 1982, but by 1988, production across all mints had stabilized, at least on the surface. Now, here's the twist. The 1988 Lincoln penny without a mint mark was minted in Philadelphia. Unlike coins from Denver or San Francisco, Philadelphia coins of this era typically carried no mint mark, a detail that often leads collectors to overlook them. But that would be a costly mistake, because some of these no mint mark pennies were struck with die varieties and anomalies that make them both rare and valuable. And when they exhibit an unusual coppery tone, something deeper and richer than the standard appearance, they become even more desirable. So what exactly is this copper color shade that has collectors buzzing? Most 1988 pennies were made with copper-plated zinc, giving them a relatively uniform, lighter red color. But a small number of coins show a deep copper tone, a richer hue that closely resembles the earlier solid copper cents of the pre-1982 era. This striking coloration can result from a few factors: slight variations in the plating process, environmental storage conditions, or even transitional planchets accidentally used at the mint. Some numismatists believe these copper-toned 1988 cents could be remnants of leftover planchets, creating an unexpected and valuable anomaly. And collectors? They're taking notice. Online forums, auction houses, and dealer networks are actively tracking down these pieces, especially in high grades or with strong luster. The visual appeal of the copper color sets these pennies apart, instantly recognizable to the trained eye and nearly impossible to forget once seen. Now let's talk numbers, because this is where things get serious. While ordinary 1988 no mint mark pennies might fetch a few cents above face value, examples with rich copper color, near-perfect surfaces, or unique die characteristics have sold for impressive sums. In 2023, One collector paid over $1,500 for a copper-toned 1988 penny in MS-67 red condition. Another rare example featuring a transitional reverse die, originally meant for a 1989 cent, sold for nearly $3,000. These aren't rare one-off sales. Auction platforms like Heritage and eBay continue to list verified, graded coins fetching hundreds to thousands depending on condition and uniqueness. The demand is real, the prices are rising. And the supply? Shrinking every day as collectors scoop up the finest examples and lock them away. So how can you tell if you're holding one of these rare 1988 treasures? Start by checking for the absence of a mint mark. That confirms it was struck in Philadelphia. Next, study the color. True copper-toned examples often appear richer, darker, and more vibrant than their zinc-based counterparts. Look closely under natural light. The weight is also a clue. If you suspect it's a transitional copper planchet, weigh it. It should come in around 3.1 grams compared to 2.5 grams for standard zinc pennies. Preservation is critical. If you believe you've found one, handle it with gloves or by the 8 edges only. Place it in a soft flip or a rigid holder immediately. Then, consider having it professionally graded by PCGS or NGC. Grading can multiply the value dramatically. In the world of coin collecting, true opportunities don't come around often. But the 1988 Lincoln penny with no mint mark and that unmistakable copper shade is one of them. It's not just a piece of American history, it's a hidden investment, quietly growing in value as more people learn the truth. Collectors aged 30 to 70 are realizing that what they thought was just spare change may actually be part of a disappearing class of collectible coins. As awareness grows, so does the urgency. These copper beauties aren't just appreciated, they're hunted. And once the finest examples are absorbed into private collections, finding one will become exponentially harder. So take action now. Go through your change, your old coin jars, and those forgotten drawers. Because that one penny, the one you almost spent, could be the very coin that turns your curiosity into cash. Don't let this moment pass. The copper coin revolution is here, and it's starting with a penny from 1988. There's a copper-toned Lincoln penny from 1994 that's quietly changing hands for hundreds, and in rare cases, even thousands, of dollars. It looks ordinary to the untrained eye, yet it's turning up in change jars, old drawers, and forgotten piggy banks across America. And here's the kicker. It doesn't even have a mint mark. That's right. No mint mark, no silver, no gold. Just a humble, copper-shaded coin from the 1990s that's suddenly become one of the most talked-about pieces among collectors. But what makes this unassuming 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark so incredibly valuable? And why are serious coin hunters racing to find one in the elusive copper color shade? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may be running to check your own coin collection. The truth behind this penny is more surprising than you think. To understand why the 1994 Lincoln penny without a mint mark is capturing so much attention, we need to step back for a moment and explore its roots. This coin comes from the long-standing Lincoln cent series, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. The Lincoln Memorial Reverse, which graced the back of these pennies from 1959 to 2008, became a familiar sight in every American's pocket. But what most people forget is that by 1982, the composition of these coins changed forever. Prior to that year, Lincoln pennies were made from 95% copper. Afterward, to cut costs, the U.S. Mint shifted to a predominantly zinc core with only a thin copper plating. By 1994, all pennies were officially zinc-based. However, something unusual began to surface in recent years. Collectors started noticing that some 1994 pennies, specifically those with no mint mark, meaning they were minted in Philadelphia, displayed a deeper, richer copper color. This wasn't just natural toning from age. These coins had a hue that closely resembled pre-1982 copper cents. And that's where things get interesting. So, how did this happen? Experts believe that a very small batch of 1994 cents may have accidentally been struck using leftover copper planchets or planchets with an unusually thick copper layer. Others suggest a minting anomaly or a deliberate trial piece slipped into general circulation. Regardless of the cause, these copper-shaded 1994 no-mint mark pennies are not supposed to exist in this form, and that's precisely why they've become so valuable. Now let's talk value. It's one thing for a coin to be rare, it's another for it to command real money on the collector market. Over the last 5 years, several verified examples of the 1994 Lincoln penny with a deep copper appearance have sold for stunning amounts. In high-grade uncirculated condition, PCGS has graded examples that fetched upwards of $300. One particularly eye-catching specimen with exceptional luster and a rich copper tone sold at auction for just over $1,000. That's right, 1 cent, turned into a 4-figure treasure. Even circulated examples with clear copper toning and minimal wear are being listed for $50 to $150 on popular coin marketplaces. And here's what's pushing these prices even higher: scarcity and visual appeal. Collectors aren't just buying these coins for their rarity. They're buying them because they look and feel like the old-school copper pennies they grew up with. Something they can see and instantly connect with. That emotional pull is powerful. Combine that with low supply, and you have the perfect storm for a market breakout. So how can you tell if your 1994 penny is one of these rare, valuable finds? Start by weighing it. A regular 1994 penny made from zinc weighs 2.5 grams. A copper-based penny should weigh around 3.11 grams. That difference may seem small, but it's crucial. Next, examine the color under natural light. A copper-shade penny will have a deeper, more matte tone than the brighter red of modern zinc cents. Also, look for signs of exceptional strike quality or unusual luster. These are often clues that a coin is outside the norm. If you believe you have one of these pennies, do not clean it. Cleaning can destroy a coin's value instantly. Instead, store it in a soft coin flip or capsule, away from air and moisture. And if the color and weight seem promising, consider submitting it to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication. A certified grade can transform a suspicious penny into a documented asset, and that's where the real value lies. In a world of uncertainty, smart collectors are turning their attention to tangible assets with historical value and rising demand. The 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark and a rich copper appearance is one such asset. It's scarce, it's desirable, and it's already proving to be a powerful investment for those lucky enough to recognize it early. The big question now is, do you have one hiding in your collection? Because if you do, you might be holding onto a small piece of metal with a very big future. Don't underestimate this penny. What looks like pocket change today could very well be a high-demand collectible tomorrow. And the next time you see a copper-colored coin from 1994 with no mint mark, don't pass it by. That tiny detail could be your gateway to a major numismatic discovery.